Every year, we like to do our Community Impact Series. It's a time where we recognize organizations and people who are making a difference in our local community. Today, I want to highlight someone that you should know, someone that's making a difference in the business community, building entrepreneurs and wealth. It's none other than Black Brand. It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric LaVille. We'll be right back in just a moment. Welcome back. It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric LaVille. We're so happy to have you join us once again, as you always do every Sunday, every weekend here as we broadcast live from the campus of the Norfolk State University on none other than WNSB Hot 91, the soul of VA. Also like to thank our producer who is in the studio, the hardest working man in radio, Marvin Folks, also known as DJ Scandalous, which you can hear on this station in our TuneIn app every day from Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. On the weekends, he's working on Saturday, and yes, he's also working on Sunday, which is why I call him the hardest working man in radio, and a heck of a DJ as well. As also, would like to thank our listeners, you, the supporters, for all the work that you do to support us throughout all the things that we have and the great events that we have on campus and throughout. Listen, we're gearing up for a phenomenal weekend here in Virginia Beach, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and also graduation. So shout out to all of the graduating seniors who are coming up. Shout out to the honorary doctor for Dr. Pharrell Williams, who our native son, who's getting ready to host State Something in the Water. So it is something that is going to be epic. WNSB. We also have he is helping to DJ the block party down there. So we're involved. Norfolk State is involved. The whole community is involved, and we're so happy and delighted to have that event back here in where it belongs, in Virginia Beach, home of Pharrell Williams. You know, I love doing this particular show every single year, this series that I have. It's called the Community Impact Series. You know, this is a public policy show where we talk about community issues and from a policy law perspective, you know, but I believe that policy starts from the ground up. It should start there because it's the people that know what the issues are. It's the people that know where they live and what they want to have improve. So we have organizations and individuals who are in the community making a huge difference. So this series of shows, I love all the series that we do, but this series I love especially because I get to talk to you, the community members, and you get to hear from the people that you live around and that you're around every single day. So I'm so happy to have with me on the show my very good friend and someone that I've admired for a very long time, who I believe is doing a phenomenal job. I mean, a job that we haven't seen, especially in this area at all. And hats off to her for all that she's doing and the team that she has around her. But this is none other than Blair Durham, the president and co-founder of Black Brand. Blair, how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing well, Eric. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. You know, when I talk about, you know, what you're doing, and when I say, you know, I've admired you from afar for a very long time, you know, Black Brand, a lot of people may not know about it, but they're going to know about it today after the show. But it is something, it's an organization that basically, what I believe is needed in order to help build any community, especially the Black community. I believe first, you know, God first in everything, family second, education third, and then business. Being able to own your own land, property, business, being able to own your own dollar. And that's something that I believe that you in Black Brand help to do, you know, help our community to do. So when I say I've admired you from afar for a long time, it's because I've been watching your progression, and it's absolutely phenomenal. So tell us a little.
Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Look, you and I, we have a lot of great conversations about the Black community, about Black business, the dollars, the trillions that transact all the time. But before we get into that, I want people to know a little bit about Black Brand. What is Black Brand?
So Black Brand is Hampton Roads Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. We founded the organization in 2016. I'm certain a lot of folks remember 2016. It was a lot like 2020. I believe it was the first time that we started to have that kind of hashtag come to the fore, where brutality as it pertained to police and Black men became a really, really hot topic. And I had met my husband 2 years prior, and we had a similar thought around there's got to be something that we can do, something tangible, something long-lasting. We didn't want to march or protest or be angry. We wanted to think about ways that we could create some solutions. So we started asking the question, what happened to the last Black Chamber of Commerce in Hampton Roads? Where are the hubs for entrepreneurial activity in the Black community? And getting kind of an okay from those that came before us and seeing no real synergy or activity at that time, we started to convene some community leaders, started asking some of those questions. And in fall of 2016, we birthed Black Brand as the third iteration of a Black Chamber of Commerce for Hampton Roads.
Now, again, an idea, and I always talk about the power to my students, the power of an idea. Having an idea, but then having the passion to move forward with it, the courage to actually do it. You talked about, what was taking place before, what happened before, and having to get the okay, from people before. Tell us a little about why do you want to, start the new Black Chamber of Commerce, and what made you believe that you can actually do it?
Yeah, good question. So I am no disrespect, because I rep Norfolk State. I claim Norfolk State all day long, being a Hampton Roads native, but I am a Virginia Tech alum. And I really believe attending that school laid the perfect foundation for the work that I do now. There are a number of disparities that exist on that campus. And as students, we unearthed some of the history associated with that institution, and really took it on as a full-time job to develop campaigns, to make certain demands of leadership, and we did so with tremendous results. And I think I walked away from that institution feeling like I've definitely discovered my passion. I know what it is that gets me excited and where I feel like I can have an impact. But I wasn't all too sure about what that could look like from a career perspective. I was wearing my black every day, and I certainly had my fist up, and I'd read all the books and written all the, the papers and the different things. But I didn't know practically where that would lead. And so I spent about a decade just garnering skills, working in education, working as a counselor, gaining some sales and some sales leadership skills, starting to build a network. And as I mentioned before, really it wasn't until 2014 and meeting my now spouse that it kind of maybe there is something that we can put together. I definitely felt like I had enough in terms of theory, that part of the background, and I had enough in terms of facilitating programming to be able to leverage some of that skill set that I gained as a student in Blacksburg. Mm-hmm. I also felt like I had enough in terms of, the ability to influence people, to be able to pull together a group that, could bring their skills to the table as well. And together we could do something amazing. I will say I had no idea specifically what it would take, what it would require of me. And I also didn't know, that it could become what it has become. And hopefully we'll get a chance to talk more about that as well.
Absolutely. You also mentioned your passion and finding your passion. At what point do you think, because again, we deal with the future of our society. We deal with students that are
Sure.
becoming educated, and they're here. They think they want to major in this and do that, and we've all been there. At what point did it click for you? Like, this is my purpose.
Wow. That's a big question. So I'll give you 2 points. My first sociology class there at Virginia Tech was called Race, Class, and Gender. And I'll never forget it. Dr. Laura Gilman, just a fantastic professor. It dawned on me sitting in that class that while I was there to study psychology, that it was this undertaking that would really be huge for me in terms of my own career trajectory. So that was a big moment. And I remember I would have my relatives, coming to visit me, and I would take them with me to class. They were there to go to a football game, but I'm like, no. We're going to race, class, and gender. Or we're going to go to race and racism. Or we're going to go to minority group relations. And they'd be like, all right, Blair, whatever you want to do. Like, if you got to go to class, fine. But I couldn't believe, I had to go all the way to a predominantly white institution in order to learn that I was Black and what that meant and what that could mean. I just remember just the gravity of that. As a student leader, it's like, wow, this is something. But then coming around full circle, like I mentioned, more than a decade, as I was done with undergrad, and I would say the murder of George Floyd, the resulting social unrest, that reckoning that took place, I started to feel like in that moment that I was uniquely positioned because of the background and the work that I had already begun with Black Brands to do something catalytic for the Black community. So yeah, it takes some time, and I feel like, a lot of times when we discover our purpose, we expect there's going to be some kind of instantaneous, yes, now I'm going to go do a thing. But it's a process, a lot of times what gets revealed to us is revealed incrementally, because there's work that has to be done internally. And then there are conditions that have to be set in order for that purpose to translate into something that's productive, into something that's powerful, into something that impacts other people. So I know that was a long answer, but.
Oh, no. Well, it's part of what I believe is all of our development, in discovering who we are. So all of that is very important because it helps to add, it's like building blocks, right? A house isn't just built with just one stone, but there's many, many pieces, many stones, the framing and the nails and so forth that puts it all together. So it all helped to make who we are, and that helped to make who you are today. It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric LaVille. We're now engaged in our Community Impact Series. It's a series where we highlight organizations and people who are in our community that are making the difference on the ground, doing the work in order to better the conditions around them. Today we have with us my very good friend, president and co-founder of the Regional Black Chamber of Commerce here in Hampton Roads, Blair Durham. Blair, so you found your passion, you found your purpose, you created Black Brand. And it's been here, created in 2016, and you're making huge strides in less than a decade. Tell us a little bit about, I want to highlight a few of the initiatives that you currently have as an example of what you're doing to make that difference. You have what B-Force Accelerator, the Impact Collective, and Black Diamond Weekend, which is huge. It's becoming like one of the go-to events every year. But let's first start with
that.
Absolutely. Let's first start with B-Force Accelerator. What is that?
Wow. So B-Force Accelerator. So when we launched, we knew that we needed to do something from a consumer perspective, right, to start to generate more support for Black-owned businesses. but we knew also that simultaneously we needed to do something to aid businesses in their development, right? We needed to, because a lot of times we want to patronize a Black-owned business, but we've had a less than pleasant experience. And so we felt like, maybe there's some kind of certification that we can create that accompanies some kind of training where our businesses can get what they need in order to appropriately, provide the services that they're intended to provide. I think we were clear on the fact that Black-owned businesses were not setting out to provide a bad experience, but ultimately, because they did not have access to the resources, they definitely didn't have access to the capital. Not a lot of us sat around the kitchen table talking business, right? There were just some gaps that were there. And so it's like, how can we create something that starts to fill those gaps? And so B-Force Accelerator went through several iterations before we piloted it in 2021. And it is a 12-week intensive, effectively. So we're offering around 30 hours of workshops, so opportunities for business owners to come together in a group setting and benefit from subject matter experts to talk about the businesses that they've already established. So that's one of the defining features of B-Force Accelerator, is that it caters to existing businesses, right? And so along with that, not only are they getting workshops, they're also getting something that's called technical assistance. So technical assistance is where, we're not just going to talk to you about what you should do. We're not going to talk about business theory. We're going to do some things for you. So, for example, you're going to be able to connect with an attorney who can develop your operating agreement. You're going to be able to work alongside a CPA who can build your 5-year pro forma financials. You're going to be able to work with a brand strategist who can design your updated website. So we want these businesses to be able to take away something very tangible to aid them on their journey to scaling their company. And then the third part is really what they get by virtue of working together, which is, they really form some strong bonds that turn into revenue building, revenue sustaining collaborations. We create opportunities for them to make money through pop-up that we provide for every cohort. We create a cash mob for businesses going through the accelerator. So everybody in that cohort shows up to support a particular Black-owned business, generated a pretty significant impact for them in a single night. Just in general, we create an environment where it makes sense for them to network. One example that I'll share has to do with stylists. So I think in our current cohort, we either have 4 or 5 stylists going through our Norfolk program.
Oh, wow.
And wow, it just occurred to us on day one that they needed to be working together to drive down the prices of the product that they buy in order to do hair. That's how it is that other communities are able to do it. That's why you go into, for example, a Chinese restaurant, they all utilize the same menu. Mm-hmm. They have the same suppliers. They've got a formula that's working, and it's collaboration, right? They're not necessarily in competition with one another, and they're all able to do well enough to create the wealth that they set out to build in the first place. So just an example there of ways that we're supporting the businesses through B-Force Accelerator.
Absolutely. And that's the creation of businesses. But there's another side of economics and impact in our society, and that's nonprofits. Tell us about the Impact Collective series that you create to help nonprofits.
Yep. So we birthed Impact Collective, I want to say it was 2021, really is a way for nonprofits to come together twice a month and benefit from, there's a trainer, she's got 30 plus years of experience, Jennifer Yarbrough. She's out of California. And she just kind of broke down every aspect of the nonprofit as folks would come into those sessions. We've now reimagined the program, recognizing, let's put together kind of an 8-week cohort. Let's work with fewer nonprofits at a time with a focus on specific program areas. let's take them through. Let's make sure, same kinds of things. We want to strengthen their board governance, right? Make sure their bylaws are together and that they've got an understanding of what the board does and what it doesn't do. We want to introduce them to members of what I like to call the nonprofit ecosystem. Who do I mean? Funders and service providers, right? They need to know where to go to get the money, how to start to build that relationship so that it doesn't have to be, their nonprofit. In other words, they take money out of one pocket and put it in the other because it's just their nonprofit and they're the only one. Like, it's never going to have the intended impact if it's just their nonprofit. It's got to become a community-based organization. So we're helping to fill that gap. And then at the end of the program, once they complete the 8 weeks, they've gone through the training, they've met the folks, in partnership with United Way, every nonprofit is going to get a $2,500 stipend to take them to their next level. I just believe, if we can be a pass-through agency that provides funding to move nonprofits forward, then there's no reason why we shouldn't be doing that.
Wow. It's more than just a pass-through, but it's really giving the education, the exposure, the experience, and the hand up. That $2,500, not a handout, but a hand up in order to, like you said, get them to that next level. And sometimes it's just like reaching something on the shelf. You need that stool, right? You got everything there, but how can you get there? That $2,500 to a nonprofit entity. Wow. I mean, it can do so many great things.
Particularly for a small, for a grassroots, Black-led, Black-facing organization.
Yes.
Gosh, I mean, it's leverage that they can use. I mean,
absolutely,
it's a game changer. So every time we get $2,500, I'm super grateful.
Well, look, you're getting more than $2,500 now, but I want to talk about before we have about a few minutes left, Black Diamond Weekend. Now, let me tell you, audience, this is becoming a go-to event. Matter of fact, it is now the go-to event. If you're a business person, I've been able to experience it. If you're there, want to network, and then not just the classes and so forth, but also the gala and the after the after networking is absolutely phenomenal.
Sure.
Blair, give us a little bit about Black Diamond Weekend and when it normally is.
Yeah, Black Diamond Weekend is our annual 3-day conference, really with a focus on emerging as well as existing Black business owners, as well as business leaders. So we've got content for entrepreneurs as well as entrepreneurs. We typically offer about 50 workshops over the course of the 3 days. The topics run the gamut. I mean, it's the kind of thing that, everybody can benefit from no matter what stage of business they're in because there's just content overload. So definitely looking forward to that for this year, November 2nd through 4th. As you've mentioned, this will be our 8th annual Black Diamond Affair. That's where we recognize business and community leaders. We'll have about 11 awards that we present for this year. Will be right there at the Westin Virginia Beach Town Center. So we've got some early bird sales and vending opportunities and things like that are going to happen here in the next couple of weeks. And then, like you mentioned, some other kinds of networking opportunities as well. So not only will we have a pitch contest and we'll offload some capital to small businesses, but we'll have just opportunities to have a good time too. At the end of the year, I know how hard we work as Black business owners. There's nothing easy about running a business in general, but some time to kind of let our hair down and, deepen those relationships and things like that. So we always look forward to it. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share about it.
Absolutely. Look, we're looking forward to it. It's this November coming up every year. There'll be more information about it coming along. But,
For sure.
Listen, you found your passion, you found your purpose, you stepped out on faith, you were bold, you were courageous, going into an area and saying, hey, I think I can do this. I know I'm going to do this. You've created mechanisms to help others, to pull others over that proverbial wall to help them on their way, giving them a hand up, giving them the necessary tools that are needed, and creating a end of the year, festivity where now you can learn more. And with all that work comes a little recognition that you started to receive. Tell us a little bit about your most current recognition at Virginia Tech, your alum, your institution, and then finally some of the supporters that you want to shout out that have been sponsoring a lot of these programs and individuals that you may want to just say thank you, for what you're doing.
Yeah, so we've gotten to the point where we definitely are on the map, and in to a certain extent putting Hampton Roads on the map and putting the state of Virginia on the map. And it's exciting to be recognized because we do work really, really hard, and for a long time, it was a voluntary effort, for sure. And so it's good to see that the impact is happening and that, folks are starting to recognize what we do. And as you mentioned, we did just bring home a Virginia Tech Influential Black Alumni Award in the social justice category this past weekend.
Congratulations. That
was just an incredible full circle moment, as you can imagine. And then, being able to have family there with me, it was a big moment. I'm excited, too. The Hampton Roads Chamber is recognizing us in about another week. We're going to receive the Small Business Champion of the Year Award. We also just received, the Rainmaker Award by the Virginia Business Magazine, 100 people to meet in the state of Virginia. So yeah, it's starting to pick up, and definitely by way of thank yous, there are some individuals and some organizations that have been, that have just, we would not have developed the momentum to move this thing forward really without it. I would recognize Centerra just across the board, meeting Dana Becton, Chief Diversity Officer there, has just transformed what we do. Mark Johnson with Truist has been just a fantastic supporter, was willing to take a chance on B-Force Accelerator, gave us that initial, I want to say it was $25,000. We leveraged that for another $2 million in funding. But it takes that first funder. Somebody's got to get out there and say, you know what, I'm taking a chance on this. And because of that, we were able to pilot the program and continue to build revenue for it. We've also found tremendous support in Dominion Energy, in Bank of America. Now I convene our funders on a quarterly basis, and it's just, these folks are our colleagues, and it's the fact that they were willing to be a door for Black brands. It really has benefited all of Hampton Roads. So thank you so much for that. And I count Norfolk State. I count Norfolk State among that, really, because, being able to partner with you all, we're launching Women Who Lead this year. We received $250,000 in funding to get that initiative off of the ground. And
Absolutely.
it's just a blessing all the way around. I like to say this is definitely our Black moment, and I'm glad to be here to be able to, be a door for members of our community as well. So.
Absolutely. And listen, we enjoy having you as our partner as well. You've got an event coming up this weekend. And also, I want you to tell our listeners how to get involved. Tell us very quickly about that event coming up and where they can find more information to be, if they want to start a business or want to just learn or be around people who are making it happen. Where can they go?
Yeah, glad you mentioned that. Because the organization is really focused on narrowing the wealth gap, we recognize that real estate is a large part of how people build wealth. And so every year we take 2 months where we focus squarely on real estate, and that's what we've been doing since the start of March. We've hosted home buyer seminars. We had a velocity event where we had 5 powerful real estate professionals talk to us. We showed the movie The Banker, got permission from Apple to do that last Friday. We hosted an Airbnb Entrepreneurship Academy last Wednesday. Incredible. Airbnb has come on as a partner for Black brands alongside Virginia Housing and others. We are producing HR RealCon 2023. And so it's our annual 2-day real estate conference happening next Thursday and Friday at the Virginia Tech Newport News Center. 17 real estate professionals sharing, everybody from Chantel Ray to Danita Hayes, Cavell Molinar. It's a room that you want to be in. And a lot of people think, oh, if I'm not in real estate, I shouldn't attend. No, if you are a human, you are in real estate.
That's it.
And you need to know that, and you need to figure out how to translate yourself as an asset into someone who understands how to build wealth. So that's what we're doing.
And you can find more about that event and others at blackbrand.biz. That's blackbrand.biz. Again, a trailblazer, someone that's making a huge impact in the community. My good friend, Blair Durham, president and co-founder of Black Brand. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll see you next week, once again, on Stay in the Water, where we bring movers, shakers, and policymakers to you to discuss issues important to the community. God bless, be great, be well, and we'll see you next week.